So welcome everybody to our social responsibility webinar. We're going to be talking today about how social responsibility can benefit both nonprofit and for-profit companies. I am Matthew Burke. I'm a partner with the accounting firm Cerini Associates. I'll be serving as your moderator today. We're joined by Ken Cerini, the managing partner of Cerini Associates, my business partner, and Eileen Minogue, the executive director of the Book Fairies. We're here to learn about how nonprofits and businesses can collaborate effectively to create mutually beneficial relationships. So as many of us may know, we publicize it a lot, as does the Book Fairies. We have a partnership with the Book Fairies. So Ken, can you please give us a brief overview of that and elaborate about what this partnership looks like?
Sure. So our firm mission has always been rooted in education. It's a big part of what we do. We believe that part of our responsibility as a firm is to push out information like these webinars and newsletters and everything else. So we've always been rooted in education. In addition, we believe that improved literacy can really, if we get improved literacy through education, through reading and everything, that could really improve a lot of, or solve a lot of the social issues the country's facing today. So we got to know Book Fairies and Eileen. Well, we've known Eileen for a while, but we got to know Book Fairies through the Imagine Awards. They were one of the finalists of the Imagine Awards. And Amy, who I know is on this call today too, I met Amy and we had a really good conversation about what Book Fairies does, what Book Fairies' mission is, and it kind of resonated in terms of who we are as a firm. And we said, this would be really great if we could kind of come together and come up with some sort of mutually agreeable way that we can kind of promote both businesses so that we get a benefit and Book Fairies gets a benefit. I know we found in the past that every time we worked with nonprofit organizations, it's trying to shove a round peg in a square hole or square peg in a round hole. I always get that backwards, but shoving some sort of peg in some sort of other hole that didn't always work because whether it be a golf outing or a dinner or something else, it really provides little benefit to the for-profit business. So Amy shared a book with me, and I know, Eileen, you have a copy of that book handy.
Yeah.
But Amy shared a book with me called Purpose Incorporated. And it was such a great book because it really talked about how you can take that partnership or that relationship to a partnership, in essence. So we kind of got involved in trying to find a way that we could create a joint venture where both sides benefited from the relationship. And it wasn't just the for-profit business, or in this case, Cerini Associates, writing checks to the nonprofit. It really became a true partnership where both sides benefited from the relationship. And what that relationship is at this point is, we have a joint venture where for every billable hour we have as a firm, we put a book in the hands of a child who doesn't have access to age-appropriate books. And we've had that partnership running for about 3.5 years. And over that 3.5 years, through Book Fairies, we've been able to fund the distribution of over 170,000 books.
Wow.
So that's, it's been a very, very good relationship. And I think what makes it unique is it truly is a partnership. It's a two-way street. It's not, as I said before, us writing a check and then, there being no future benefit. It really is both us and the Book Fairies benefiting from, this partnership in a meaningful way. So again, I think that's what kind of makes this different and why, it goes beyond that whole aspect of really just funding a nonprofit and really goes into that whole aspect of being in partnership with a nonprofit. I know it's probably a little bit longer than you wanted, but.
So Ken, you mentioned how it's beneficial for both sides. Obviously, it's not a traditional donation to, and that's really it. So Eileen, I'd be interested in your perspective. How has this relationship benefited the Book Fairies?
It's been a great relationship. What I want to say is, to Ken's point, is for so many nonprofit corporation collaborations, it's very transactional, whether it's a golf outing, like to your point, or something like that. And it's great and it's purposeful in the effort that you're putting together. But this is more of a relationship that we have with Cerini and the team, Ken and the team. It's about how do we work together to serve the people that we serve. And the team has really come together with us and done a great amount of support It has generated revenue. The one thing that I like to say is it's money that every month comes in. Ken and the team if they're working hard, we get money. It really depends on how you guys are doing. The check comes in every single month, and it allows me to budget and prepare to do my business month to month, year to year, and prepare to fund the mission that we're doing. So revenue wise, it's really been a tremendous relief for me. Most importantly, and Ken knows this, during COVID, so much dried up at that point, but there was one thing that was consistent. You guys were working, you were giving us checks. And if you were a business that was struggling during COVID, then it would have gone the other way. But it's a mutually beneficial relationship where you're doing good, we're doing good. And if, we understand if there are months that when you're not having a good time, we understand that that's the case as well. But revenue wise, it's really been tremendous for us to have this relationship. But it goes deeper than just funding, because this is, core to what you guys are doing. You have really invested in giving back as your core purpose. You have to make money, you have to employ your employees, but I really feel it's in the heart of what you do. It starts at the top with you, Ken, and you, Matt, but I also feel it in the employees that I've interacted with over the years, from marketing, Christina, from everybody that's been involved. I feel it, your passion for our mission. It could be something as simple as I need help with a graphic piece and somebody hops up and helps us out. So that's what I love about it. You really wrapped your entire team has wrapped your arms around our mission in more than just funding. We get volunteers, you guys do book drives, you're helping us out with other types of in-kind support. And it really helps us in the community as well.
That's great to hear. It's good feedback for us too. Now, Ken, it's probably a harder sell for profits to enter into these types of arrangements, right? For obvious reasons. So be interested in hearing your feedback on how this has been beneficial for us at Cerini Associates.
Well, I agree that I think from a sell to a for-profit business, it might be a little bit harder, but I think the benefit that for-profit businesses derive is tremendous if they look at it from a big picture perspective. If you think about it, first of all, you're dealing with a very tight labor market right now. And when you look at a tight labor market, you look at, Generation Z, and that generation is very, very socially oriented. They want to know that, they're working for a company that is socially responsible. They want to know that they're working for a company that's giving back and contributing to the community. So to have a partnership like this, where the employees can see and feel good about the organization they work for, where employees can participate in being part of that partnership that exists through, as Eileen mentioned, in this case, book drives or volunteering or anything else, that helps to attract and retain staff. Because staff are now seeing that there's, this is a good company to work for. This is a company that understands. This is a company that's giving back. This is what we want to be part of. I think the other place where, it comes into play, is things like public image, right? So we're out there, and when we go out and we issue proposals, in our proposal, we highlight the fact that we have this partnership. And in the proposal, we still have to be a good accounting firm. We still have to provide a good product and everything else. But it does provide us with, I think, a marketing advantage, because we can send out a proposal. And in the proposal, we say, if you work with us, not only will you get the great service you know from Cerini Associates, but you'll also be helping to solve or help improve literacy, both here on Long Island and in New York City. Because if you work with us and your job is going to take about 200 hours to do, that's going to put 200 books in the hands of children. So we not only provide service, but we also provide a community benefit. So that gives us a really strong marketing tool that differentiates us, I think, from a lot of other accounting firms who are not doing this. And you can kind of remove accounting and put any other business in there, and it's the same sort of thing there. In addition, you also have the ability for us to do social media pushes. One of the things that we have as part of our partnership, Eileen and Book Fairies is constantly sending us little videos that are made from teachers or from some of the kids who are getting the books, or things where the kids are drawing pictures or writing things about their favorite books and how we help to make that happen. You start pushing some of that stuff out through your social media channels. Again, you're talking about things that become differentiating factors, so that when people look at us and they're looking at our social media channels, they're not just seeing, sorry, but dry, boring accounting stuff that's going out. They're also seeing that, we do take or do make an investment in the communities that we serve in. And again, it all kind of functions in, the differentiating ourselves. And then also, in terms of getting our staff to volunteer a little more and get more involved, they're developing different skill sets too. They're developing leadership qualities. They're developing, we're helping to grow the soft skills of staff, which, you don't always think about in a company, but when you're looking at your next management team, you want there to be empathy. And, empathy is the big new word out there and currency in the whole world of leadership, right? Today. So you want that empathy, you want the ability for them to kind of see things from a different perspective, take leadership roles and everything else. So again, we're developing skill sets in our staff. We're keeping our staff, married to our firm through, through involvement and through our involvement and their involvement. We're making a difference in the community that we work with, hopefully helping to create improved literacy, and maybe some of those kids are reading our books are going to come out and become accountants someday and come work for us. So who knows?
To your point, Ken, Goldman Sachs did a report, and 52% of consumers actively seek and look out to see what a company's CSR is. So, people are looking, we can't change all that's going on. We're living in a crazy world right now. We can't change all that's going on, but the more we work together, we serve more powerfully. The more good we're doing, the more good will be done. And that's what I think about this partnership, is that it's really it's about how do we help our neighbors? And that's exactly what's happening here. Our books go to the neighbors. They're going to, if you have a client that lives in town A, we might be providing books to the people in their town that they want to serve. So it's all about working together to really figure out how do we serve more powerfully.
Since you're throwing out statistics, I figured I should probably throw out a statistic too. So
sure.
That's what we're all about. Actually, that statistic, roughly 2/3 of large North American corporations believe that using philanthropy to advance their business goals is a priority. So, this is what the corporate model is moving to. The corporate model is moving towards social responsibility, and I think what we've done is kind of taking social responsibility and put it on steroids a little bit and kind of ingrained it into our DNA. So, it's not just lip service. It's not just, hey, we do this if the world is moving in the right direction. From our perspective, it doesn't matter what direction the world is moving in. For every billable hour, whether that's up or down, for every billable hour, we know that, we have money set aside to go to Book Fairies. So again, I think it's a little bit different from just pure social responsibility. It's really kind of incorporating it and building it into the DNA of who we are as a firm, because to us, it's really important to make a difference.
You guys are a culture of giving, you're creating a positive change, but not just what I want to drive home. And some people might get scared by this, but it's not just about giving us the dollar per billable hour. You invest in in-kind support as well. And the readathon is a great example of that. During COVID, I went to Ken and I said, we're trying to figure out how do we survive? How do we pivot like everybody else had to do? And I said, what do you think about a readathon? And he turned the readathon on its head, and you really drove me and guided me and were, a mentor to me to help get our readathon, which has become our staple yearly annual fundraiser, raising upwards of $100,000 a year. So you are willing to invest not just monetarily, but with in-kind support. And I think that that's also a way that companies it could be a 1-2 hit, not just financially, but in kind. Because sometimes there's skills that small nonprofits like the Book Fairies can't afford but you might actually have those skills that can be given as in-kind support. So that's another way that you have helped us. And I suggest that other people look inside themselves, look inside their companies and say, well, we can give this, but we can also give that. So that 1-2 hit is a really great way to really partner with somebody.
And that's, sorry, Matt, I know you have other questions, but Eileen, that's a good point, because the other aspect of that is when you deal with somebody who's on your board, you're dealing with a board member. When you're dealing with a corporate partner, you're dealing with the whole company, especially if you're dealing with the right people within that corporate partner. Right. So that corporate partner can bring to the table a lot of different skill sets. It may not just be a single skill set. As you mentioned earlier, Christina and Kelly helping you from a marketing perspective, we helping you with ideas and stuff. You could have other aspects within corporations in terms of IT and stuff like that corporations might have that they don't realize that that's extremely valuable to the nonprofits who have limited resources. And if you've got the ability to provide both, donated goods and services as well as those dollars, it's actually a leveraged impact.
Agreed.
So the benefits are pretty clear, right? I mean, you've both spoken at length about both the tangible and intangible benefits that both sides receive. So whoever's listening to this now and watching us, for-profit and nonprofit alike, may be wondering, how do I embark on this journey myself? How do I find a for-profit to pair myself up with if I'm a nonprofit? And if I'm a for-profit, how do I find someone whose mission is in alignment with what we want to do? So what guidance can you give those who are listening about how to forge their own relationships and how to set something up like we all have?
Do you want to start, Eileen, or do you want me to take it first?
You can go first, sure.
I think part of it is, if you're a for-profit business, this can come from either side. It could be the nonprofit side initiating the process. It could be the for-profit side initiating the process. I don't think it's one or the other. I think, it really comes down to having that meaningful conversation. I think part of the problem is that meaningful conversation doesn't happen all the time. And I think the nonprofit sector relies too heavily upon, traditional fundraising, and they don't always look at that whole partnership component of things and how we should be moving to more of a partnership model. And it does require then to have that open lines of communication to find out how a partnership will work. I think in terms of a for-profit business going out there and trying to figure out who they want to align with or what's the right fit for them. Again, think about it. There are over 35,000 nonprofits in New York City and another, 3,500 to 4,000 here on Long Island. So in the New York metro area, you're looking at almost 40,000 nonprofits. I mean, somewhere in there, you should find your perfect fit, and it's a matter of, just kind of going out there and exploring, talking to people, to find out what it is. I mean, I had somebody come up to me last night and say, now that I'm retired, I want to sit on a board. Maybe you can help me find one. So talk to people. There's so many good organizations out there that need your help. So in terms of kind of finding the right fit, I think you need to find one whose mission resonates with you and your company. I think that's going to be an important part of this is, finding an organization that speaks the language that you speak, that has the same values that you have, finding one that's also very high profile. I mean, it's hard because you want to help the smaller organizations too. But again, if you're using this as a kind of a two-way business street and marketing tool, some of those high profile nonprofits could be very, very helpful for you in terms of being able to provide, more of that high profile connection or connectivity. The thing you have to be careful about is with some of those high profile partnerships, you may not get the same relationship that we've got. Not that Book Fairies isn't high profile, but you might not get that same relationship that you have with a smaller, more intimate relationship like we have, that allows for there to be a lot more give and take, a lot more two-way street, a lot more, we talk on a regular basis. We kind of figure out what's the next step. How do we evolve the relationship? And some of the larger, more well-known nonprofits may not be willing to give as much as they want to take, and same thing with bigger businesses. Again, that might be something similar. I don't know, Eileen, if you want to add anything else.
For me, it's relationship, right? It does take time to cultivate this type of partnership. You have to have trust and knowledge of what each of us are looking for. And that's what I do with any partner or sponsor is, what are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of it? And it took a couple of years with you and Amy to get to this point, right? But that's really what we're looking for, is to find companies that are interested in our mission. And we have some tentacles to what we do, because we have other portions of our we work with the IDD community for our volunteers. So some people might be interested in that, as opposed to our core mission, which is, getting the books in the hands of individuals. But for me, it's about relationship building. It's letting people know that we're out there, and having corporations start as volunteering in our book bank or doing a book drive, and then they get to understand the impact of our mission and the ways in which they can turn that into their purpose and how they can get there. And I think that for us, we provide a lot of different opportunities where people can be hands-on. Some nonprofits that might be here and listening might not have as many hands-on opportunities, but there's still ways in which you can partner with corporations to the core of your mission. I mean, I use Men on the Move, who happen to support us with storage space, but their core mission is Autism Speaks, because they have a family member with autism. So that's how they are partnering with nonprofits, is they're giving to them, and they're trying to figure out what's their gift that they can give, and that's a way that they give back. So and for us, we're actually doing it. We call our partnership with you is a corporate literacy challenge. So we're going to be doing a big push to see if we can get other people to take your lead and join us in this corporate literacy challenge, and see how we can work to build on this program to sustain our mission and grow our mission.
I was going to say, the good thing about all of this is you don't have to only have one partner. You can have multiple partners. I would suggest you keep them in different lines of business, but but you can have multiple partners with respect to your organization, which is great, because everybody's going to bring different skill sets. Everybody's going to bring different aspects to that partnership.
So Eileen, I'm interested in so as the beneficiary, as the nonprofit, it's definitely a relationship, but it has to be managed, right? Any relationship has to be managed, and you're relying on the generosity of a firm donating time, effort, money, whatever it may be. How do you find it to be in terms of managing the relationship, checking in, status updates, progress updates, and having those maybe tough conversations at times about you getting what you need as the nonprofit side of this relationship?
For me, it's always about, I just always keep going back to relationships, because if you have a good relationship, whether you're a corporate sponsor, a donor, a volunteer, we try our hardest within our small means of staff and admin to really just keep a nice open relationship with our sponsors. But with Ken and the team, it's been, that's really what it is. We talk, I'm emailing back and forth on a monthly basis. I try to make sure you touch our mission. And that's what Ken referenced before, is if I'm able to be at a community book fair and in our warehouse, and I have teachers coming in there and they're drooling over these books and they're so excited to have these books, I'm going to grab them. I'm going to pull them to the side and say, listen, I've got partners, Cerini Associates, who on their daily, as they're working, they're thinking of you. They're thinking of the kids that you're serving. Can you just give them a word of thanks? Can you let them know the impact of what you're doing? And that's what Ken was referring to. We have the teachers, we ask them to please let our donors, let our partners know what the impact of what they're doing is for the kids. And the kids send adorable notes and what have you. And on a corporate wise, we're just always trying to remain transparent. I will give Ken, updates as to where we're going, what we're struggling with. I've sat down in your office and said, I'm doing a budget and I don't know where I should be going with this. And he's been very good and a great mentor to say, this is where you should be thinking. And I take that very seriously, and it helps to guide us in other ways that just financial support wouldn't do. So I just think checking in and keeping all of your sponsors and corporation partners up to date and abreast of the impact, that as long as they feel the impact and they're passionate about their mission, the relationship will continue. So have I missed anything?
No, I was going to say, I think one of the issues that we see a lot in the nonprofit sector is the nonprofit sector doesn't always do a great job of communicating with their donors. And yes, we're a partnership and it's a little bit more than a donor, but I mean, I think it goes straight through in terms of ensuring that communication is taking place, ensuring that people feel engaged in your organization. It's that engagement. If you can keep that engagement up, that's when people are going to continuously do more and more and more and more for you. So it's about keeping that engagement up. And I think going back to something you said in terms of that acknowledgement or pulling those teachers on the side and stuff and doing that. Few years back, we had Spectrum Design, which is a nonprofit organization that works with the developmentally disabled. They printed up some shirts for us. And some people have heard me tell this story, but they printed up some shirts for us. And like 3 days after we got the shirts, I get a phone call from some woman. She said, I just wanted to thank you for ordering from Spectrum Design. My son is one of the individuals who works there. He's got a developmental disability. And because you ordered the shirts, he has a job, he feels important. And I got that phone call and I feel a whole lot different about Spectrum. And, when we order shirts again, we kind of think about them and through the process because that communication is there. And again, I think it's important to let your donors, let your business partners, let everybody know that this is really, really important to get that communication out.
So Ken, from our side of the table as business owners, business operators, and knowing personally how hard you work and how much you work, how do you fit this in to the Cerini Associates schedule? Because it's not just dollars, it's not just writing checks. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes involvement, and it is forming a relationship, and that just takes all of those things. So how do you personally manage this, and how do you recommend other for-profits allocate their time to make room for situations and relationships such as the ones we have here with Book Fairies?
Well, I think part of it is you look at it as part of your marketing efforts. So part of it is, incorporating that into the responsibilities of your marketing team. If you have a marketing team, I think it also becomes, setting time aside. And, some of the conversations and, that Eileen and I have are, after hour conversations where, we're talking after hours, or it's, I'm on a long drive to a client. And I'm like, Eileen, I'll call you when I'm on a long drive so we can spend a half an hour on the phone talking. So you find a way to fit it in, because if it's important to us, it's important to the development of our firm, it's important to our marketing efforts, it's important to, as long as you see it as, not just a pet project, but as an integral part of our firm, an integral part of the marketing activities that we're doing within the firm, then it gets the level of importance it needs to get.
It almost takes the form of like a client relationship. I mean, you would treat your clients the same way. They're deserving of your time, you respect what they need, and you consider them sort of in the same vein.
Well, and again, yes. But the other part of it is, Eileen is also helping us grow our business through the relationship that we have. So we look at this as kind of an important component of, like I said before, the marketing efforts of what we're doing. So, if something is important, you have to put value on it and you have to dedicate time and energy to it. And again, if you're not going to treat it as an important part of your business, then you're not doing it right. It's like any other partnership. If I have a partnership with, XYZ business down the road and I'm working with them in a collaborative way, then I need to dedicate something to it if I'm going to get something out of it. Same thing happened here. If this has become part of what we feel from an ROI perspective is going to be important to our firm, I only get out of it what I put into it.
Yeah, that's all great. And I think, everyone listening, if they are interested in pursuing these types of arrangements, are interested in what form those may take. We have a special relationship here. Obviously, the Book Fairies is something that distributes books. So it was easy for us to link our mission and what we do every day to theirs. Other forms of these partner relationships and sponsorships and partnerships that exist, Eileen, that you're aware of, that you think you're seeing the world move more towards, as things become more socially transparent and the Gen Zers and the millennials are taking over, right? And they want all these things to happen. So what are you seeing as those new forms of relationships that are out there?
You know, it's becoming more than just the bottom line, right? People are looking to and to Ken's point, it's not just potential clients or potential buyers, customers, it's employees as well. I mean, they're looking to see what you're doing. It's about, you know, not what you're doing, it's why you're doing it. And, you know, there's a lot of examples of that. I think, you know, Ben & Jerry's with Greystone Bakery in you know, New York, they employ, I think, 126 people, but they don't, I think their quote was, they don't, you know, make brownies to employ people, not, you know, making brownies to just make a profit.
Well, no, it's I think it's they don't employ people to make brownies. They make brownies to employ people.
Okay, you corrected me on that.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to, right?
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, but that's a great example. I mean, it's like Tom's, you know, there's so many companies out there that are getting it. But I think overall, people just want to feel good about their doing. I'll pay a couple of extra dollars if I feel that it's going to impact my community. I'll pay a couple of extra dollars to feel like if I'm going to help somebody give a hand up or hand across. And I think that's what this is all coming to. And the corporate partnerships, while it, you know, you and I might be talking on a Saturday morning, which we've done a couple of times, it's really helping us to move the mission forward and really establish, you know, a little bit of a, you know, a corporate edge, if you will, for Cerini Associates, where you're able to share what they're doing. But I venture to think that your clients feel good about what they're doing through hiring you as a business. So there's several other, Ken, if you want to expand on some other examples, but.
Yeah, I know that there are some high profile partnerships that are out there that we're all looking at and sort of patterning ourselves off of. So Ken, I know you have a pretty good history and understanding of those. Do you want to share some of those examples?
There's a couple. I'm going to talk about some lower profile ones first, some more local ones, and then maybe I'll get into. So you take like a Habitat for Humanity. So you don't necessarily think about Habitat for Humanity in terms of, you know, the partnerships. But what Habitat does is they offer home builds, and businesses, corporations can participate in a home build, and it develops volunteering. So you've got these volunteers who are coming together in a teaming exercise to build a house. You know, everybody's looking right now with this whole remote world we live in. They're looking for ways to build that culture. They're looking for ways to bring people back together. They're looking for ways that you know, they can give their employees experiences to work together in different ways other than just in a work environment. So, you know, these partnerships offer the ability for, like I said, volunteering, where you can kind of bring, you know, your employees together to work on projects in an effective way. And that's something that, you know, Habitat does extremely well. They're not working maybe specifically with an individual, you know, partner like we're as entrenched with Book Fairies, but they're working with many different partners on, you know, 1 or 2 day projects that allow for this to happen. So again, those partnerships don't have to be as entrenched. They could be less entrenched. I kind of like the stronger partnership, but that's one. I know, Eileen, you mentioned Ben & Jerry's and Greystone Bakery, where Greystone makes all of the fudge brownies for Ben & Jerry's fudge brownie ice cream. Again, shows a phenomenal partnership. Warburg Parker with Vision Springs. So Vision Springs is an organization where, you know, Warburg Parker is, for every pair of glasses that you buy, they donate a pair of glasses. So you've got this buy one, donate one sort of, you know, situation that's out there. I know Island Harvest here on Long Island has a relationship where, and they're going to kill me, but I forgot the name of the company that they're partnering with. But for every case of product he sells, and it's the not reusable, but the one-time plastic gloves, the plastic gloves for employees, so they put them on when they're doing food service and stuff. They're a food service distribution company. So for every case of product they sell, they help fund meals for Island Harvest. So again, there's a lot of really good examples. We have a new client that we picked up, EB Research. They're out of New York City. And what their project or what they do is the EB is a rare disease, and they do a lot of funding of clinical research. What they've started to do is they've started to invest in tech companies that are doing research to kind of promote that research towards the research that they need, because they don't want to wait for a cure. They want to help ensure that that cure takes place. So they're using a partnership with for-profit tech companies to create social change and to come up with a solution quicker than if they left it up to the natural course of things. So they've started to invest in technology-based companies to do this. So I mean, there's a lot of really, really cool ways that organizations can partner. Some of it is like the investment where they're using dollars and it's truly more of a business model. Some of it is more soft like ours, where it's maybe not as strict a business model in terms of we're investing in you, but it's kind of a two-way street in terms of what we're doing. So again, it's really cool. It is the direction that things are moving in. There has been more so on the West Coast, a big push towards social entrepreneurism, which is kind of bridging that gap between the for-profit and nonprofit sectors. We're seeing it happen a little bit more here. I think it's going to become more prevalent over the next 10 to 15 years as we try to partner for-profit and nonprofit organizations together to really effectuate social change, because we've determined, I guess, that for-profit businesses aren't doing it on their own. Government's not really creating the change that it should be creating, and nonprofits don't have the resources and funding to do it. So if we can kind of bring the sectors together, I think we have a much better chance of really making a difference. And it's through partnerships like this that's really going to drive change going forward.
I know we're wrapping up here. We only have a few minutes left. Are there any closing remarks or inspirational calls to action, anything like that either of you would like to provide for everyone listening?
First, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to thank Ken and Matt and your entire team for embracing this opportunity for, you, and I would recommend anybody, if you haven't read Purpose Incorporated, that you do so. It's a great book. It really tells you a little bit more about this type of collaboration, but you walk the walk, you talk the talk, you are not just for us. I mean, we're talking about our nice little relationship, but you do so much for so many here on Long Island. So I want to thank you for that. But I recommend that people start thinking, we're nonprofits, but we're businesses, and we have to be able to sustain ourselves. And a program like this can help you with multiple, like for us, Corporate Literacy Challenge, can be multiple infusions every month with checks that just come in. It's almost like your individual givers. You need to give as much attention to this program as you would to your individual donors, because that's the way you're going to be able to sustain your business moving forward with partnerships with this, and be less reliant on the golf outings and the events that can drain so much of a small or large organization. But really, this is just a big bang, and you get more than just the dollars. You get so much more of it. And I'm grateful to you all, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we love having you. We love working with you. I think it's been an effective partnership, and we get, as I've said many times, we get as much out of the relationship as you get out of the relationship, which I think is what makes this so strong, is the fact that it is a two-way street. It's not a fund our golf outing or fund our dinner dance or something like that. And I think, what nonprofit organizations, they have to look at things differently. I mean, there are so many, as I mentioned before, there are, close to 40,000 nonprofit organizations in the New York metropolitan area. All of those organizations are experiencing the same issues that you're all seeing. We've got a down economy, we've got a down stock market, we've got, a greater demand for services. Unless you're an arts organization, then you got no demand, lower demand for services. So you've got this kind of weird inflection of where we are right now. And, if you can kind of create these types of partnerships where you kind of have that heart-to-heart conversation with your business partners, and you look to them and say, look, I don't want to come to you once a year and ask you for a check for the golf outing. I want to have a relationship with you throughout the, entire year. That's where I think you can start to really make change. I think you really need to look at your relationships a whole lot different. People want to be engaged. They do. People want to know more about your organization. There's a reason why, when you don't include people into your organization, they only give once. It's because they want to be part of it. They want to know what's happening behind the scenes. They want to be connected to your mission. They want to be connected to the consumers or individuals you're serving. And if you don't put that connection together, you're not going to have the donors coming back. This gives you a great opportunity through a partnership to keep that communication, to keep that energy up, through ongoing relationship and through ongoing discussions. And again, allow for there to be a two-way street so both sides benefit. So this is really where every single nonprofit organization should be looking, and where every for-profit business who, sorry, and this is going to come out wrong, nonprofits, but who begrudgingly write that check for the golf outing because they feel they have to or they have an obligation. We've even started to take this approach and look at some of the trade organizations we belong to and everything else, to try to take this approach to other places and look at it in terms of relationships and how that relationship could be a two-way street.
Okay, well, we'll let that be the last word. Thank you both for your insights today. I think it was very helpful for everyone listening, and hopefully they will be inspired to embark on their own journeys with these types of relationships. So thanks everyone else for tuning in today for this very insightful discussion. Tune in again September 20th next week for what we're calling Let's Imagine, where we'll be interviewing the winners of the Long Island Imagine Awards. And if you're not familiar with what that is, Google it, check it out, and get involved with that as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Ken.
Sure.
Thanks.
Take care, Eileen.
Thanks.
So long, everyone.